There's a power within you. It lifts your life to its highest level. It brings happiness, companionship, success, health, and peace of mind. As you tap into this power, it will respond to you because this power is within you. And that's why spirituality rocks. I'm your host, Janine Burns. Delighted to be here again with another fantastic episode. And we teach practical spirituality on Spirituality Rocks. We teach that there's one presence and power that exists in and through all of creation and all of life everywhere. Whatever you choose to call it, God, Spirit, Divine Love, that's up to you. And we teach you how to think. We don't teach you what to think, but we teach you how to think. And our world is undergoing a rapid spiritual transformation. And the mission of this show is to teach you spiritual principles. And we bring you nationally renowned guests that will inspire you and empower you to live from your divine nature. And it will expand your consciousness and teach you skills for life mastery. I have created these fabulous affirmation cards. If you'd like a set of affirmation cards, all you need to do is send a self-addressed stamped envelope to us at Guiding Light Foundation, GLF Post Office Box 472. And what we've done is on one side they advertise the TV show, and on the other side there is spiritual food. They are absolutely no charge. You just send us a self-addressed stamped envelope. We're happy to send these to you. Thank you so much for telling your friends about the show. The show is growing and we're really happy about it. Please like us on Facebook, and you can just tell all your friends to go to spiritualityrockstv.com. So I just want to jump right in. I want to introduce you to my beloved friend. She is an absolutely genius woman, just one of the most remarkable people I know. And she calls herself spiritual, not religious. Welcome to the show, Christina Gochin.
Thanks for having me, Janine. I'm so excited to be back.
Wonderful. We're going to start with our phone guest today. The phone guest is a friend of mine, Steve Albert. He is the co-minister of the All Faith Spiritual Center. And he's written 14 books. Actually, I like to do patio classes on my patio in the summer. And he has a series of Reboot, what to do when crisis happens. And he actually had a stroke, and he rebuilt his life from having a stroke. And he has this whole Reboot series, which is great because that's actually our theme today is transforming loss, because our Skype guest is Judith Burdick, who created the documentary Transforming Loss. Now, Steve, who's our phone guest, he is the author of the All Faith Manuals, and he just came out with a novel called Infinite Possibilities. Welcome to the show, Dr. Stephen Albert.
Oh, it's wonderful to be here, Janine.
So, my question for you is, what spiritual truth or idea have you been focusing upon lately?
You know, that's something that has been so strong for me lately, mainly because as we get a little bit older, we find there are more and more people on our prayer list. And those people are needing our help. My truth right now, and the thing that I wake up every morning saying is I am so grateful. I'm grateful that I got through my stroke and open heart surgery and all the other stuff that goes on in life. And I'm finding that so many other people are having difficulties, and I am. The fact that I wake up in the morning, the fact that I'm healthy, the fact that I'm inspirational to some other people, and that I'm writing the books and people are reading them and enjoying them and getting stuff out of them. I also teach comparative religion at University of Phoenix, and I hear students say to me, why haven't they told before? And those things are things like you've got God within you, that it has nothing to do with, quote, religion. It has to do with the spiritual part of you, and knowing that you can get through crisis and you can develop things in a manner that you perhaps never thought of before. It's incredible how much we are just infinite beings.
Wonderful. And I know, so it sounds like you hold really high the value of making a difference in the world.
Oh, that's why we're here.
Well, and it's interesting, too, that you use the word grateful. You know, I think a lot of times when you're processing anything, but especially loss, it's hard to remember what we're grateful for. And there's tons to be grateful for, tons, especially the experience of having known someone.
You know, last week we had as our guest Janet Grace Nelson, and what she does before she gets out of bed, she thinks of 3 things for which she's grateful. But the difference being is she then takes the time to really feel that, Steve. She takes the time to think of something she's grateful for and allow that energy to encompass her. What is a particular spiritual practice that you favor?
I stop.
You stop.
I just relax, I stop, and I listen to what's happening around me. And when I say listen, that's the most important part in communication. We can talk all we want and pray and plead God to do things for us, but when we listen, we really get the message. And the message is that we are spiritual beings. We are endowed with incredible abilities, and all we have to do is show it to other people, believe in ourselves, and move ahead and enjoy life.
It's so true. Just lending an ear and listening is such a huge gift. It really is. And people really feel that. I think people remember more that you listened than they remember what it is you said.
Yes.
Yeah, because of the connection.
Very strong.
Yeah. I think that's our highest value once food, shelter, clothing, water, that values are met. Our highest value is connection. And I think first and foremost, connection to the power within, connection to God within, but then, of course, connection to one another.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real strong value. And so...
Well, it's kind of easy to say, well, thank you, God, for this food in front of me.
Right.
But to say thank you for my life tomorrow, before tomorrow comes, knowing in advance that you are going to be blessed, knowing in advance that you're going to have what you need and more, is a whole different area of gratitude.
Especially if you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow,
Right,
and you're
well-
grateful for it anyway.
Right.
Sure?
Yeah.
You just know that it's going to be good.
Yep.
Okay, I'm loving that mindset because, yeah, we never know exactly what's going to happen, but we have ideas of what we're going to go through. So
Yeah.
that's a wonderful consciousness.
But you
yeah.
said the word, it's a mindset. It
Yeah.
is. You have to be in a positive mindset no matter what. That's what makes happy people happy.
Yeah. So Steve wrote the book, Infinite Possibilities. It's a novel. I would love to have you as a Skype guest coming up. Send me your book, please. But tell us about the novel. What led you to write it? Tell us about it.
Well, the interesting thing is that I have written 14 other books, and they've all been very instructional, very, you can do things, how to get through crisis, how to deal with one thing or another. And then all of a sudden last year, I got this urge to write a novel. It is the first novel I've ever written. I had no idea how to format it properly or do anything. And what I did was to take truths that I knew about, many of the New Thought, truths that I believe in, and I brought it together in the form of a couple developing their psychic abilities and doing past life readings and getting into the Akashic Records and dealing with angels and people who are of a angelic realm and learning how to help other people find their selves, even if their self is from a past lifetime, affecting what they're doing now.
Oh.
Wow.
Now, for people who don't know, what are the Akashic Records, please?
They are perhaps the complete history of everything that has ever happened from the beginning of time to the end. And they are a spiritual record that some people who have the ability can get to. And the Akashic
spiritual record
holds where you were,
Okay.
perhaps your soul was, hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago, yesterday, and perhaps even where you're going in the future. I have seen people who can get into the Akashic Records and say to somebody who has a pain in a certain part of their body that this is where it's coming from. And by the acceptance of that, the pain goes away.
Wow.
You mean this is where it's coming from? It came from an experience from another lifetime?
Yeah, absolutely.
I just want to make it clear for people who may not be familiar with the idea.
The whole area of the Akashic Records is much more than just physical. It's emotional, it's spiritual. But the Akashic Records carries with it such a huge volume of material. And I was in a room, in fact, this has happened with me many times, but one particular room where a man came in and he didn't even mention that he hurt. And the person who was able to tie into it said, I see on your left shoulder, and that's why you've got this pain, blah, blah, blah. He said, how did you know about my pain? And she said, it came from this man named, and she named the man, and he says, that's my brother-in-law who I hate.
That's funny.
And she says, well, that's because he killed you in a past lifetime with a shoulder, with a shovel to your shoulder.
That's
And he
wild.
went, what? She says, all you have to do is forgive him, and that pain will go away. He said, I've had that pain for 10, 12 years. She said, all you have to do is forgive him, and that pain will go away.
Okay.
I cannot wait to read
That
this
happened
book.
a few days later, and he never had the pain again.
Really?
Wow.
So he forgave and never had the pain again.
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm imagining some viewers right now are going do 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 do, you know, going, okay, where's she going with this practical spirituality stuff? But I'm loving the
Book
idea.
Infinite Possibilities talks about 8 or 10 or 15 of those stories, and even brings in a lot of the other elements that people think perhaps are a little bit strange, but they're a truth.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. So we have up on the screen, if people want to get in touch with you, they can, of course, go to Amazon and pick up your book, Infinite Possibilities, and your other myriad of books, the whole Reboot series. And the website is allfaithspiritualcenter.org.
No, forget the spiritual, allfaithcenter.org. It's
Oh.
correct on the screen.
Oh, okay, it's correct on the screen. All Faith. Oh, you're watching? Oh, good. Tell your friends to watch, too.
Oh, I'm checking out your bangs.
Yes. He's talking about, we were talking, I have a new haircut. Okay. Allfaithcenter.org. Well, I just so thank you for being here. Love to have your insight. And look forward to having you on the show with your new book, Infinite Possibilities.
It would be my pleasure to be back on your show.
Awesome. Thank you so much for calling in.
All right, take care.
Well, I invite everybody to stay tuned. Do not go far. We have with us Judith Burdick, and she made this incredible documentary called Transforming Loss. Can't wait to talk about it. So stay close to that TV screen or computer screen or however you're watching it on your phone, whatever. Be right back.
Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully, I follow my inner guidance. Peacefully, joyfully, I am divine.
Hi, my name is Dr. Tom Dow. We have a multidisciplinary practice in Melville and Ronkonkoma, New York, and we treat patients with many, many different conditions, from newborns through geriatric patients with numerous different techniques. There's a technique and a type of treatment for every class of patient. We have them all here. Here's my son Thomas, also a doctor of chiropractic, working on one of our patients' cervical spine. This patient has had chronic neck pain for many, many, many years, has been to a multitude of different practitioners with little or no response. And with our specialized techniques, she has improved tremendously and continues to improve on a daily basis. We have two practices, one in Melville and one in Ronkonkoma, New York. We are a multidiscipline chiropractic office. What that means is we have chiropractors, massage therapists, acupuncturists, psychologists, all working as a team and a network of outside professionals such as orthopedists and neurologists that we work hand in hand with to help determine what your injuries are and the best way to treat your injuries. I have the great pleasure of having my son in practice with me. We work hand in hand, father and son, to give our patients the best care possible and a staff which is loving, caring, and you'll never have to wait at all in our office for service. Many times patients come into our office and they have what's called a soft tissue injury. Soft tissue injuries are like scars inside your body. If you've ever been cut on the outside of your body, you get a scar. The same thing happens inside of your body to your muscles and ligaments. So our job is to determine where those are, stretch the muscles, adjust the vertebra back into their correct position, and then refortify the normal structure with exercise. That's what we do best, and I hope someday you'll come see us at one of our 2 offices. Thank you.
YesWeCare.net is a 501c3 charity that provides help to veterans and their families. Please visit YesWeCare.net and donate in any way you can by purchasing our beautiful frame prints or relaxation CDs and DVDs, even smooth jazz CDs. YesWeCare.net. Remember, our troops are on their way home. They need all the support they can get. YesWeCare.net.
Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully.
Welcome back to Spirituality Rocks. I'm your host, Janine Burns. In the studio with me is my dear friend, Christina Goshen, and today we're talking about Transforming Loss, which is the name of the documentary that Judith Burdick put together, which is sensational. It is an absolutely, it's so well made in so many ways. I really believe when it comes to loss is the way out is through. And that is really tough because I know recently I suffered a loss and I cried so hard I thought I was going to die crying. But I realized that in allowing myself to feel those feelings, I could step through. And that was really important because I know so many people squish it down. And there's lots of loss. There's people pass away, you lose a job. There's obvious losses. There's unacknowledged losses. You graduate from high school to college, etc. And I know in your family, you recently suffered a loss.
Oh my gosh. So if you have children, you can totally get this. But you know what? Even if you have a pet, we suffered a loss on my birthday several years ago where our dog got hit by a car. And instead of dealing with it in the moment, we kind of pushed it aside because it was Thanksgiving. We told everybody not to refer to Pepper, and it was never filed correctly with any of my kids. So a week ago, our beloved cat Peach gets hit by a car. And we had the choice. We could either, put the cat away in a box and bury it, or we could just, go inside and deal with it. And as much work as it is to process loss, and it is a lot of work, we went inside and we dealt with it, and we all cried, and we built him a little coffin, and we put what we loved about Peach on the top of the coffin
They
with
all wrote on
markers
it.
and pens.
Right.
Yeah, and we decorated it, and it was a moment where I thought about how small the event really is in the grand scheme of things, but how it's going to be so useful to the kids when they get older. Because being able to go through a loss and come out on the other side and then look back, not at what you were robbed of, but the memories that you got to keep. Grateful, I think it goes back to being what you were grateful for, which is that we got to know Peach, and he was, he's a great pet and a great cat. Was a huge, strong message, I think, to send to the kids.
I think fantastic message because the way out is through. And I think so many times we resist, and like you said, we shove it under the table. And, we need to learn to be compassionate with ourselves and allow our feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's critically important.
And it's just like watching Judith's documentary. I mean, you're going to be prepared to cry because you will feel your losses when you watch these people talk about their losses. And then you see at the end how they are transformed.
Right.
It's such an amazing documentary.
Yeah, it is. But you know what? I have to tell you, and I've suffered a lot of loss this past, 6-8 months. I didn't cry through it. I didn't. I watched it and I thought, gosh, how tragic and how absolutely horrible. And my heart felt really, really sad. But there was a part of me that felt very validated because they knew how I felt about my loss. But you know what? We haven't brought on Judith yet. We have to bring on Judith.
I know.
Judith. Judith Burdick. She's a psychotherapist. She's a documentary filmmaker, writer-producer. She's the director of Transforming Loss, a documentary, and the new Transforming Loss Companion Guide workbook. She is a licensed psychotherapist, and her practice is dedicated to individuals with a wide range of emotional and psychological issues. But she focuses on providing individual and group grief therapy. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. So happy to be here.
Thank you. Fantastic. What was the launching pad? You were a psychotherapist. Why did you choose to focus on grief?
Well, it really relates back to my own experience of loss, which is really the fuel behind why I even became a grief and loss specialist.
Okay.
So the first part of my transformation was to go back to school and to get my advanced degree so that I could become a therapist specializing in grief and loss. And then as time went on and, I healed even more and transformed my life even more, I had this idea that I really wanted to create something that I thought didn't exist or not the way I saw it. And creating this documentary and then the workbook that goes with it has been really my most recent manifestation of my own transformation. So it's a constantly evolving thing. You're never really fully transformed. I see it as something that is constant and transforming. So that's my own loss. I was widowed 23 years ago. My husband died in a scuba diving accident, and I was left with 2 small children to try to figure out how to get on with my life and make some kind of meaning out of what seemed so pointless at the time. So that's the launching pad.
Fantastic. Now, in the documentary, it looks at 6 families, and it talks about their transformation through this heart-wrenching loss. You hear about their loss, but once you get past that, you get to the end of the documentary, you see how their lives have been transformed. I have to say, it's a spectacular documentary. I'm so pleased that you made this. I was curious, were these clients of yours? Where did these families come from?
Some of them were clients, but the majority of them came through networking in my community and colleagues and people that I know, and through other patients of mine. I knew what I was looking for, people that not only had survived their losses, but who were actually thriving. So that's like a really important distinction between people who actually transform, that they're thrivers.
That he went.
So it was a networking effort as well as, through my practice.
And when the people on the documentary, they're so articulate and so well spoken. There's such a sense of peace, even when I hear the tragedy that they went through. Like the guy Gary. Gary was the one whose wife and 2 small children were killed by a drunk driver who was 5 times over the legal limit of alcohol. And wow.
I know. Wow.
Oh,
boy. Well, you know what he did that was so wonderful, and I think this is part of that transformation, is you have to separate the actual action from the people. The thought of loss is separate from the gift that you were given, which is the memory of someone or all the good things that happened in their lifetime, albeit sometimes way too short. And his amazing ability to forgive was just, it was transforming to anybody who watched it.
Yeah,
absolutely. And he was able to make that distinction between the act and the person. So that's what enabled him. I think this is, what I heard you saying. He was able to forgive this man for what he did. And, he didn't condone what he did, but it wasn't him. And obviously, the man was, 5 times over the legal limit at 3:30 in the afternoon. The man had a very serious alcohol problem.
Yep.
So he could see the disease aspect of that, and he had compassion for the man because, he lost his life too, and his children have lost their father. He will be in prison for life.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people watching probably even remember that.
Yeah.
Actually remember that.
I
'cause that
remember
made
hearing about it. I
yeah,
do. I
made
remember it in the
headlines.
news.
I mean,
yeah,
to
because it wasn't
forgive-
his first time. It wasn't his first
Yeah.
time driving drunk. It was all
That's-
over the place. Yeah.
to forgive something that's considered so egregious. But you know what? I think that when we move to the other side of loss, who we are is a sum total of everything we've experienced in our life. Not just the sweet and goody ice cream cake kind of stuff. It's every experience has made us who we are. As a psychotherapist, please address that thought.
Well, for me, I can speak personally and also professionally, but I actually feel like we cannot define ourselves. It's healthier not to define ourselves by our losses, but those experiences of loss, and there's several through life, as you mentioned earlier. They're all different kinds of loss, but it comes with life, and what loss actually does is it gives us an opportunity to become stronger, to become more compassionate, to pull our faith, to connect with other people in a deeper way, and to really get to know who we are and what we're made of. And bringing it back to this film, you're able to see how all of the people featured in the film were able to do that. They were able to take that experience and really find, and including myself in my own life, find a strength that if you had never gone through the experience, maybe you wouldn't have been motivated to access. So it's really through loss that we're motivated to grow the most.
Right. Well, what about people who are stuck in loss? I mean, that
Yeah.
they go to think of it and they can't go there and they just push it away and they don't want it to because it's so horrible.
We all have friends that are there.
Yeah.
That just cannot move. past
Some
it.
people cannot get beyond it because it becomes who they are. They define
It defines themselves. Oh, okay.
And that's actually what I was mentioning before.
Yes.
And that's a problem. That's one thing, but there are a lot of factors that play into why a person gets stuck in grief. A lot of times it reflects back to, early childhood issues that haven't been resolved that, get re-stimulated when there's a significant loss in life. And that's one thing, looking at maybe, a person has depression or anxiety and it's something that they've had, for a number of years. That can complicate, the grief process and keep a person stuck. So you have to really pay attention to what's going on in your body and around you, the people that are supporting you or maybe not supporting you, and really becoming proactive and going for the things and the people who can really be there for you. And sometimes it's setting boundaries with family and friends and really saying, you know what, I'm not getting my needs met here. I need to look elsewhere. So seeking help, going to get therapy, going to a group is very powerful. But just not stopping, not leaving any stones unturned. And, there's nothing like loss or pain and suffering to be that kind of motivation.
I was about to ask that. I was thinking that is the people who are stuck and are in so much emotional pain that if they're in such pain, it will be a motivation to do something about it. Like there was the young girl in the video who lost her mama.
Yeah.
And after they sat Shiva, she said, it was kind of a party. They sat Shiva and then everybody left and she was alone. And she realized that she couldn't deal with, she had to do something because I think she realized that the loss would just kill her. And so she began helping her friend.
Yep.
Yes.
And her friend was a little overweight or something, and she started exercising with her friend and supporting her friend. And what it turned out for her is because her mom was like her BFF. Her mom was her
Right.
be-all.
Her mom was a
Her mom was
helper, too.
everything.
Yeah.
And so she found someone who really trusted her, whom she could trust. She found such a deep, beautiful connection with this other woman. And then they went on to form some kind of organization. I have it in my notes somewhere. Do you recall what it was?
Yes, it's called Break the Weight, and it's a blog. And
Yes.
actually, that friend is my daughter.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Because I found her to be very inspirational, the little girl, and she said, when people tell me that I resemble my mother when I'm doing this, I feel her in me then.
Yes.
And I so think that is true. When you're helping others, there's nothing more divine, and you really do feel all the good stuff, all the good memories. Yeah.
Absolutely, and that's one thing I want to reinforce. The people that really are resilient, and that's really important. That's like the foundational piece, aside from the faith, to transformation. But that resiliency is significant, and that's the thing that enables us to be creative, and to get out of ourselves. Ultimately, I mean, there's a time where you have to walk through the pain, and you have to feel it, and it does feel victimizing.
Right.
And to honor that phase of it, that's an early phase. But there will come a point in time, and it's not in the beginning necessarily, usually not, but at a certain point in time where you begin to want to get out of yourself.
Right.
And that's the thing. It's the helping other people, just like the Ricky story. All of the stories really have their own version of that.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's really key.
Yep.
Wonderful. Well, Judith, it's time for a commercial break. So when we come back, I'd like to talk a little bit more about this idea of resiliency and delve a little deeper into transforming loss. So don't go too far. We'll be right back with Spirituality Rocks.
Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully, I follow my inner guidance. Peacefully, joyfully, I am divine.
My name is Dr. Robert Brevard. I'm here for Multi-Medicine in Westbury, New York. We're located at 1065 Old Country Road, Suite 214. Been here for about 15 years. The practice has medical doctors, physical therapists, chiropractors, acupuncturists. We also do pain management, and we have orthopedists on staff. Here at Advanced Multi-Medicine Rehabilitation, we've got physical therapists on staff who treat an array of conditions, from neck pain to back pain, shoulder pain. We treat carpal tunnel. We treat a lot of car accident patients, slip and falls. We treat patients with knee injuries, with ankle injuries. We have state-of-the-art equipment. We've been here for over 15 years. Vast array of diagnostic testing, from x-rays to EMGs. What is an EMG? It's a diagnostic test that allows a doctor to determine where the pinched nerve is. Cora is a physical therapist at Advanced Multi-Medicine and Rehabilitation. She's working on Stephanie, who was involved recently in an automobile accident. Stephanie has tight thoracic and cervical musculature, and Cora is doing some myofascial release work and some therapeutic stretching, doing it to help her with her pain. Vicky is also a patient here at Advanced Multi-Medicine and Rehabilitation. Vicky is now working her leg muscles, specifically her quadricep muscles, trying to strengthen them after an injury she sustained. If you find yourself in need of any type of physical therapy, please don't hesitate to call Advanced Multi-Medicine and Rehabilitation, located in Westbury, New York, in Suite 214. Phone number is 516-334-7000, or find us on our website at advancedmultimedicine.com.
Thank you.
For professional motorcycle transport and towing, think Kickstart Fabrications Motorcycle Towing. Proudly serving all of Long Island, we feature expert handling and 24/7 service. So send a limo for your toy with Kickstart Fabrications Motorcycle Towing.
Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully.
Welcome back to Spirituality Rocks. I'm your host, Janine Burns, delighted to be in the studio with Christina Gochin. And we have on Skype with us the absolutely fabulous Judith Burdick, who is a licensed psychotherapist and the creator of the documentary called Transforming Loss, a Documentary, and the new Transforming Loss Companion Guide and Workbook. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So, before we went to commercial break, we were talking about resiliency. And I work with a lot of people going through loss, and I support them because I am an interfaith chaplain. And so what I do is I serve people who don't belong to a particular temple or a house or worship. So I do celebration of life, memorial, and funeral services. And so a lot of people come to me and they're so fraught with grief, just so enveloped in it. But you talk about resiliency. Now, I really believe there's a place within us that's never been bruised or battered. There's a place within us that's never been damaged, and that is our spirit. That is our soul. That is our divine essence. And so I understand this idea of resiliency. But could we speak to people who are so enmeshed, just so enmeshed in their loss, and they're thinking resiliency, how's that ever going to happen?
Can you teach resilience?
Yeah, well, talk a little more about that.
Okay, resiliency, I think that we all come in with certain strengths.
Okay.
And some weaknesses. And some people are more resilient naturally than others, but it is something that can be cultivated and developed. And I believe that, well, let's just define resiliency. It's the ability to bounce back from being knocked down. Mm-hmm. So a loss is like being knocked down, being destroyed. And this sense of resiliency comes from, I think, also a belief inside in the basic goodness of life, and also that there is something more to what meets the eye, that there might be a bigger picture at work. People who are resilient tend to also have a strong trust and faith in life. So, just understanding what resiliency is. When you're going through significant loss, all of that gets tested. Your faith gets tested. You're tested on every level, especially if it's a loss that occurs out of the natural order of things. So,
like for instance, a child dies first.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that or a young spouse, or for a child who loses a parent young. Mm-hmm. Those are all examples of what I'm talking about. And, it's something that you learn. But you learn it by opening yourself to feeling. You have to be willing to walk through, like you mentioned earlier, walk through your pain and not actually run from it.
Right. The way out is through. I love that expression. The way out is through. And in the documentary, what I really liked, first what I'd like to address is when people in the film, what they were saying is that other people don't know how to react or what to say. That was brought up.
Yeah,
like people just don't know what to say or how to react.
Like suddenly you've changed, but you really haven't. You're going through grief, and maybe I'll say something wrong, maybe I'll say something, that's weird, and so I'm just not even going to go there.
Right. Well, yeah.
Well, some people avoid you, and others are clumsy with their words. But I think people generally mean well.
Yes.
But it can just be awkward because we live in a culture that really doesn't teach us how to embrace loss. And loss is a part of life. And that's one of the motivating factors and why I wanted to make this film. It's because, come on, people, we need to accept that life has all different dimensions to it. It's not
Right.
just, what's good and easy and happy and la la la. I mean, there's a lot of pain in life, and there's a degree of suffering. And if we embrace it and we do it with grace and dignity, and we do it openly, and we support one another, but we need to teach ourselves how to do it in that way. It's not something that we all grew up learning how to do.
Well, it's very interesting that you said we live in a culture, because we all know cultures that teach, and even religion, spiritualities, that teach the idea of temporarity, that nothing is permanent, that life isn't permanent, that the people that you see today may not be there tomorrow. That's part of life, and I do think that there are cultures that teach it and teach it very well. What's interesting about our culture in America is we really don't deal with loss well. We really don't. We won't return something that doesn't work for us because we lose the item that isn't working for us. They know that when they make a money-back guarantee. So it's very interesting that it is cultural in some instances that we really don't deal with loss the way we should.
Absolutely. And so we really need to educate ourselves. And that's what I'm committed to doing, is to bringing a new awareness to the fact that loss is, come on, it's a part of life.
Part of life.
That's real, and it's universal, and we're all going to experience it sooner or later. Not everybody will have a tragic loss like the ones that are highlighted in the film, but the message is that if these people can do it, going through those kinds of tragedies, then anybody can do it.
Exactly. And the piece in the film where they talked about people not knowing what to say, the gentleman Gary said that people would actually say that to him. They'd say, well, I don't know what to say. And what he said is just be. He said just be. Like just be there.
Be, and let me watch you being. And that's what's needed and wanted.
So let me watch. That was like deep and profound. And I know and I think another thing to do is to feed people. I know when I experienced a big loss recently, Christina brought me food, and had she not brought me food, I wouldn't have eaten.
No,
and
I know.
she brought. I'd come home, and then there was this here or that, or she brought me a tray of this food and that, and I just would not have eaten because I had not gone to the grocery store, and I wasn't going to drag my butt up to get out to the grocery store. So that's always something I think is to feed people, and not sugary, junky food, because your physiology changes when you go through loss. And you get, your adrenaline is coursing through your body. You don't need sugar. And I always tell people, I offer them tips, and I say, think slow, talk slow, just move in slow motion, and be gentle and compassionate on ourselves. Because we're like, I should do this. No, it takes a while.
It's so funny that we use the word should when we talk about mourning, because mourning is so individual and so incredibly personal. And the first thing I say to people is, you know what? Don't ever let anyone tell you how you should mourn. Do it the way you're going to do it. And tell me if you need something. And if you don't, I'm just going to feed you. That's what I do.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And some people, they eat too much when they're grieving.
Right.
You can go the other way.
Right.
It's just an assault on one's being on every level. And you're absolutely right. It's essential to be compassionate with yourself and to give yourself the time needed. And that's another thing. Like, people want to know, how long am I going to be suffering like this? Well, that's individual too. Yeah. How committed are you going to be to processing openly and consciously your pain? That will determine, or that will speed things along. Not that you can speed them along, but you can absolutely help the process if you do it in a conscious, awake sort of a way where you're getting the help you need, getting the support you need, engaging in activities that are healthy and bring you comfort and support
And
of a high level.
right, and also when you're actually in a moment of grief, like I remember when my mom passed, and on my birthday, my mom would always make me crepes. So one time I was in the grocery store and I went past the eggs. And what do you make crepes with? Eggs. Holy kajungas, I was besieged with grief.
Yeah.
But I knew
Yep.
by then that grief was like a wave, and that if I
Yes.
could ride the wave and allow the feelings and just keep breathing, it's just one lady in the film said, just stand there and breathe, and that I would be okay, because again, the way out is through. You know, we have one more commercial segment, I just noticed. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we come back. Let's look at the end of the film, and let's look at how people talked about the opportunity to be extraordinary through transforming loss. So stay tuned. We're going to have a brief commercial break, and we'll be right back with Spirituality Rocks.
Peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided. Peacefully, joyfully, I follow my inner guidance. Peacefully, joyfully, I am
I am Tom Mealy for the Harrison Law Group, and I have been telling you for years that getting involved in an automobile accident is no joke. This is what we do. We're not new at this game. If you've been involved in an accident of any kind, and you go to a law firm that says you have no case, it's simple. It's because they can't do it and they don't get it. You need to call us directly at 1-800-INJURY-LAW.
Are you planning an event and want to include entertainment, but you're not sure where to turn?
Act1Entertainment.net has provided over 1,500 events with quality, affordable live entertainment at private parties, corporate affairs, festivals, bike rallies, and more. Act 1 will fit into your budget. They're friendly, reliable, and do all the legwork for you. They take all major credit cards. Log on to Act1Entertainment.net for a free, no-obligation price quote, or call 631-758-3505 for a brochure.
You'll be happy you did.
This is Beth.
Hi.
Oh, congratulations. When are you due?
I'm not pregnant.
Oh, look at that. Excuse me.
You're totally thin.
You look very sexy.
For life's bleachable moments, all it takes is 3/4 cup.
Brooklyn's best locksmith and hardware.
We have 3 of the largest showrooms of safes on display and in stock. You can see and touch them in person instead of browsing a catalog. We carry gun and rifle safes, burglary safes, jewelry safes, fire rated from a half hour to 2 hour. Famous name brands.
We sell Gardol.
We sell AMSAC. The new AMSAC touchscreen.
If you're ever in need of a safe, think Brooklyn's best locksmith and hardware. Right, Lockie?
That's right, Alan.
peacefully, joyfully, I am divinely guided, peacefully, joyfully.
Welcome back to Spirituality Rocks. I'm your host, Janine Burns, delighted to be in the studio with Christina Gochan. And on Skype, we have the delightful, wonderful Judith Burdick, who created the documentary Transforming Loss. And she also has the companion workbook. So what I want to tell the people is that after the people tell their story and they talk about managing the grief, they get to the other side and how their lives were transformed. That's what I loved about this. It offered me such hope. It was so wonderful. And it was an opportunity for the extraordinary is what I heard on the show. It was fantastic.
I wish every single person who's stuck in their loss right now could really focus on like the last 15 minutes of the show and what they were talking about, which was, I think, transformative for anybody that watched, whether they suffered a recent loss or not.
And it's not long. It's only 55 minutes. And also, Judith, I know you're going to have it on public access. Tell us more.
Or public television.
Public television, it's already aired on DPTV in Detroit, which is where I live in the suburbs of Detroit, but it's aired already here, and it will be airing all through the affiliates in Michigan through the summer, and then it goes national in September. So we're really excited about that. More people getting the message, more people getting the healing that comes from experiencing this film and what it has to offer.
That is so spectacular. And so perhaps we'll see you on PBS and you'll be there. They'll be talking to you and we'll say, we knew her when.
Right, and try to get donations. No, I personally think every major network should pick it up.
Yeah, they'll pick it up. There's no doubt.
It's
It's really, I like the word spectacular is fitting. Now the workbook, I love that there's a companion workbook because I think for people who are struggling, do you have the workbook with you? Could you show it to us?
We do.
Yay, okay, Vanna White. It looks good. It's looking good. Tell us about the workbook. How many pages is there?
Well, the workbook is roughly 50 pages, and it is a companion guide to the film, but it can stand alone. I pull quotes out of the film that reinforce what it is, I'm talking about in each individual chapter. There are 5 chapters. It's very easy to follow because when you're grieving, you really need to be, guided.
Right. Your brain gets foggy.
Very directly through the process. But the beauty of this guide is that it gives you a way to begin to transform your own loss, to map it out and to understand what is involved in the transforming process. Not everybody transforms. A lot of people, are okay with white knuckling it and surviving, but this is for people that want to do something extraordinary with their lives and with their loss.
And so do they journal? Are there thought-provoking questions?
Journaling is a part of it, but it's more directive than that.
Okay.
But journaling is something that is recommended on a daily basis as a way of processing the pain. But there are specific exercises. But it's not like major homework, and it's not overwhelming. It's doable. So
excellent. And you said it was more directive, so it gives you
It gives you instructions.
Okay.
For instance, in the beginning, you define where you are at that particular moment on the grief continuum. And there's a survey. And it takes you through these 3 different phases of the grief journey. And it's a very cyclical process. It's not a linear process. So you can be experiencing, some of the features from the second part of the grief process according to the way I've laid it out. But it gives you a way to concretize what you're going through because it's so painful. And in doing that and in, bringing these thoughts and feelings down onto paper and crystallizing your thoughts around things and getting in touch with self-talk and how you, maybe talk to yourself in a negative way, but you're not aware of it and beliefs and all that sort of thing. But it takes you through it in a very step-by-step sort of way. It's not overwhelming, and you can do it over as long a period of time as you need to. But it's gentle, but it's instructive.
Yeah. I'm so excited, and I know, as is Christina, that you are taking something that is such an important part of our life, dealing with it spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, and just really putting it on the table so that we can manage grief with dignity. I so respect you for that, and I'm so grateful for you for doing that. We've just been such a delight to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure. This is so, in line with what it is I need to do, which is get this message out there.
Yeah. Well, we do have a couple.
They can do it. They can do it.
They can do it. And there is just a couple minutes left. So leave us with a parting word. Tell us that you can do it. I want to know that I can get through
Or
this
what
grief.
would you say? Let's say you have a friend who's experiencing loss and you see them stuck. What would you say as their friend? How would you get them unstuck?
I would say there are layers here, that whatever is keeping you stuck doesn't necessarily have to do only with the loss. The loss is the most obvious. The loss that they're experiencing is only the most obvious tip of the iceberg, so to speak. There are layers beneath of unresolved issues that are keeping that person stuck, and they don't even know it. But also, just the idea that transformation is an opportunity. It's something that a person chooses. And whether you realize it or not, it is a choice. So you can choose to transform, but you have to be willing to walk through your pain and to deal with some of the old unresolved stuff, maybe from childhood, losses from an earlier time and that sort of thing, that can really trip a person up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it takes a lot of courage to heal, but if you're willing to do it and you do it with proper support, a person can do it.
Yeah.
They just have to know what it looks like, and that's what this film provides.
Awesome.
A way to see that.
Thank you so much for being with us on Spirituality Rocks. And we would just want to remind the viewing audience, it has been up on the screen, but www.judithburdick.com or www.transforminglostdvd.com. Check it out. Thank you so much for joining us on Spirituality Rocks. Great to have you with us. And I want to tell you about next week, Christina. Ken Gordon. Dr. Ken Gordon is the spiritual director of the Centers of Spiritual Living. He's going to be with us. Subsequently, we have Judith Kravitz. She has taught transformational breath. And what I'd like to tell you, check us out on Facebook. And if there's someone you'd like to see on the TV show, we would love for you to let us know. So let us know. Tell your friends. Remember, Post Office Box 472. We're happy to send you, if you send us a self-addressed stamped envelope, we're happy to send you affirmation cards. And also, we have this CD for a $10 donation to the Guiding Light Foundation. It is a donation. It's tax deductible. We're happy to send you this CD. So, tell your friends about this fantastic episode of Spirituality Rocks. Don't forget to tune in next week. Thank you, Christina Goshen, for being with me.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, good.
As usual.
And we'll see you same time next week. Thank you for joining us on Spirituality Rocks.